Have you ever paused and asked yourself, well, what if that moment I ignored was the very one that could have shifted my entire life? What if the missed opportunity to show compassion, to sit in silence, to choose stillness over chaos was not just a small choice, but a fork in the road of your destiny? We often think of destiny as fixed, something handed down from the skies or written in the stars. But ancient wisdom, especially from Buddhist and Chinese spiritual traditions, reveals a more empowering truth. Destiny is constantly rewritten by the quality of your presence and the depth of your choices. Every day, life offers us chances, and not always in grand ways, but in subtle, sacred invitations to return to ourselves. Stranger needing help, moment of silence, calling us to reflect, and rich to react that we can transform into compassion. But how often do we miss these moments? Not because we're bad, but because we're distracted. And here lies the tragedy. Most people won't realize the cost of their distractions until the very end. When life is winding down, and we look back, we'll see that it wasn't the big decisions that shaped our soul, it was the small ones. Ignored whispers, it dismissed intuitions, the spiritual practices postponed until later. But what if there is no later? What if the key to your liberation isn't found in some future ceremony or dramatic breakthrough, but in the simple, forgotten now? Today, we explore this truth. Every missed opportunity for spiritual practice can have altered your fate, and the only way to reclaim your power is to begin right here, right now. Let's begin by understanding what spiritual practice really means. It's not limited to sitting cross-legged or chanting mantras for hours. Spiritual practice is any moment in which you choose consciousness over reactivity, love over fear, stillness over distraction, forgiveness over pride. Every breath taken with awareness is practice. Every moment of gratitude is a step toward awakening. Every time you resist the urge to criticize and choose compassion instead, you evolve. And every time you ignore these invitations, you choose delay, you defer your awakening, you postpone your peace. Here's where it gets even deeper. The ancient Buddhist teachings emphasize that every being carries karmic seeds, potentials waiting to blossom. Some are seeds of suffering, planted through ignorance. Others are seeds of awakening, watered by wisdom. But only one thing determines which seeds grow: the quality of your present moment awareness. The practice you skip today might be the one that would have helped you meet your partner with patience, changed the tone of your voice, altered the energy of your decision. That single ripple could have changed an entire outcome. An argument avoided, a connection deepened, or regret prevented. Think of how often our suffering is not due to what happened, but to how we responded. And response is shaped by presence. Imagine you had cultivated that presence just a bit more. Would that pain still have unfolded in the same way? This is why the masters say don't wait for the next life, and wait for a retreat, or a crisis, or the perfect moment. Begin your liberation now, because the cost of waiting is far greater than we can see. Let's explore a real-life example. Ellen was a teacher in her mid-40s. She had read many spiritual books, attended weekend retreats, and even had a shrine in her home. But life always felt too busy for real practice. She told herself she'd deepen her practice when she retired, when her kids grew up, when she had more time. And one day, her teenage son confronted her with painful words. "You talk about compassion and spirituality, but you're always angry and distant." That moment cracked something inside her. She realized she had turned her spirituality into an idea, not a lived experience. From that day, she began with 5 minutes each morning, sitting in silence, just observing her breath. Slowly, she added loving kindness practice. She began offering her presence to her children, really listening. She started noticing the space between stimulus and response. 1 year later, our relationships transformed. Her students said she felt more human. Her son hugged her with tears, saying, "You're finally here with us." She hadn't changed jobs. She hadn't moved. But by saying yes to the present moment, She changed her entire life. And that's the power you hold right now. There's a reason most people don't begin. It's not because they don't believe in spirituality. It's because they underestimate the value of the moment. They think awakening requires huge steps. But the truth is, liberation begins in the tiniest acts done with sincerity. Reading consciously. Using before reacting. Listening with your whole being. Blessing your food. Smiling at a stranger. Apologizing first. These are the altars of daily life. These are the temples where destiny is rewritten. Let's not romanticize spirituality. It's not always dramatic. It's often uncomfortable, raw, and humbling. It forces you to face your shadows, question your patterns, and dismantle your ego. But each time you choose practice over pattern, you awaken a little more. And the more you awaken, the more life reorganizes around you. Because reality isn't static, it's responsive. It bends not to force, but to frequency. And your frequency is determined by your choices in the present. Even science is catching up. Neuroscience shows that repeated acts of mindfulness rewire your brain. They build new neural pathways that influence your perception, emotional regulation, and decision-making. In simple terms, a spiritual practice changes not just your soul, but your biology. And if that's true, then every missed opportunity for practice is a missed opportunity to become someone new. Let's bring this closer to home. Have you ever snapped at a loved one, only to regret it minutes later? That moment was not just about anger, it was about a missed moment of awareness. Have you ever felt anxious all day, only to realize you hadn't taken a single deep breath? That wasn't just a busy day, it was a day where presence could have changed everything. And have you ever told yourself, I start meditating tomorrow, or I'll practice gratitude next week? That delay may seem small, but over time, it becomes your destiny. Because habits become identity, and identity becomes fate. So here is the invitation: stop waiting, start now. Not for anyone else, but for your own liberation. Your life is not a rehearsal, it's the real performance. And the stage is here, the moment is now, the script is yours to write. Begin with one breath, one pause, one act of courage, one choice of compassion, and then another. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be present. The rest will unfold from there. Let us now explore one of the most profound realizations every spiritual seeker must eventually come to: the subtle illusion that we have more time. It's the quiet voice that says, I'll get serious about inner work tomorrow. Or, once I finish this phase of life, my job, my kids' education, my retirement, then I really dive deep. But if you pause and truly listen, you'll recognize this for what it is: not truth, but a delay tactic from the ego. That is the ego delay practice. Because it knows the present moment is where it ties. It knows that in stillness, its illusions are exposed. It knows that in presence, your identity is no longer limited to its stories, fears, and comparisons. So the ego sells you tomorrow. And tomorrow becomes next week, and next year, and next life. But what if the very life you're living now was given to you not for survival, but for awakening? What if the daily discomforts, the conflicts, the heartbreaks, the mundane chores are not obstacles to your spiritual life, but the very training ground for it? This is the heart of all real practice. To stop waiting for the perfect moment and realize that every moment is perfect for practice. Let's go further. Imagine your life as a vast river. Every moment you act with awareness, you drop a stone into the stream that changes its course, even if imperceptibly. Each breath of mindfulness shifts the current. Each decision to pause before reacting, each moment of forgiveness, each silent blessing creates the flow. You may not see the effect immediately, But months, years, lifetimes later, the river leads to an entirely different ocean. You see, nothing done with presence is ever wasted. Even the smallest act of consciousness, when done with sincerity, it becomes eternal. That's why the sages say, a moment of true mindfulness outweighs 100 lifetimes of distraction. Let's revisit a story to bring this into human context. Here was a woman named Anya who had life through much loss. She lost her parents at a young age, faced betrayal in life, struggled with financial instability. For years, she believed she was cursed by fate, and no matter what she did, suffering would always find her. One day, walking home from a job interview that didn't go well, she passed a small meditation center. For no reason she could explain, she walked in. Mind greeted her, not with words, but with a long, silent gaze. He then said one sentence that pierced her heart. You are not being punished. You are being invited. Invited, she asked. He nodded. To stop running, to stop blaming, to start listening. That day, Anya sat for the first time in stillness, and though her mind raced, and our pain screamed, something deeper emerged, the flicker of peace, clarity she hadn't felt in years. She returned the next day, and the next. Over time, her circumstances didn't instantly change, but her responses did. She started greeting her pain not as an enemy, but as a teacher. She forgave those who hurt her, not to set them free, but to free herself. She began making different choices, less out of fear, more out of faith. 5 years later, Anya leads community meditation groups. He helps others who feel stuck in their pasts. She's not free of suffering, but she's no longer ruled by it. Her destiny didn't shift because of a miracle. It shifted because of a moment. Moment she could have walked past, but chose not to. How many moments like that have you walked past? How many invitations has life extended to you that you were too busy, too afraid, or too distracted to accept? Every breath is an invitation. Every challenge is a lesson disguised. Every delay is a test. Every person who triggers you is a mirror. And every spiritual practice you choose today is a portal to a future you haven't yet imagined. The question isn't, will you become awakened? The question is, how many lives will you postpone it? Let's now talk about spiritual urgency, not as fear, but as reverence for this life. The Buddha taught that being born human, with a mind capable of reflection and a heart capable of compassion, is one of the rarest blessings in existence. Even the gods, to live in pleasure, often lack the urgency to wake up. The hungry ghosts, overwhelmed by craving, can focus long enough. The animals lack the cognitive clarity. Let you, or and now, you can choose. You can turn inward. You can remember who you really are. You can undo generations of pain, great karmic patterns, and sow seeds that will blossom for lifetimes. All it takes is one decision to stop postponing your liberation. You might wonder, but what if I fail? What if I begin and fall back into my old habits? You will. We all do. The point isn't perfection. The point is persistence. Each time you return, the space between forgetting and remembering becomes shorter. Each time you return, the practice becomes more natural. Each time you return, the soul takes one step closer to home. Let's now make it even more personal. What are you postponing? Is it sitting in silence for 5 minutes each morning? Is it apologizing to someone you hurt? And is it forgiving yourself for past choices? Is it offering service without expecting anything in return? Is it grabbing an old identity that no longer fits? Whatever it is, do it. Employ it. The next life is not promised. The next hour is not guaranteed. At this breath is real, that's yours, that's sacred. And it holds within it the power to change everything. If this message speaks to your heart, let it be more than words. Let it be your turning point. Let today be the day you say yes. Yes to practice. Yes to presence. Yes to the possibility that your life could be the very ground from which a new world is born. And if this video inspired you, share your thoughts below. Tell us what step you're choosing now. Let us walk together, support each other, and remind each other that the path is always right here and in the present. Subscribe, like, and become part of this community if you believe in awakening, and not tomorrow, but now. Because every moment missed is a destiny delayed. But every moment reclaimed is freedom.